Hello, little curiosities. Vyxen Storm here. I've recently spent an unholy amount of hours playing the Forest and Sons of the Forest, and they dredged up vivid, terrifying memories of a movie lurking in the deep, dark corners of my consciousness. Tonight, we're swapping cozy woods for the suffocating, inky black tunnels of The Descent, 2005. If you thought being surrounded by hungry cannibals was bad, try being trapped thousands of feet underground with 6 increasingly hostile friends and a cave system full of things that really, really like to eat people in the dark. This film is a masterclass in primal terror. It doesn't just scare you, it turns your deepest fears into a physical space. If you want to write horror that leaves the audience breathless, this is your map. I've carved out 3 essential lessons and 3 ironclad rules for writing a nightmare where the environment itself is the monster. So strap on your helmet lights, try not to panic, and let's descend and get curious. The Descent is a brutal lesson in betrayal, both of friendship and of the self. A year after a tragic accident cost Sarah her family, she joins 5 friends for a caving expedition. It's supposed to be healing. It's supposed to be bonding. Instead, they get lost in an uncharted, unstable cave system. The genius of this film, and our guide for aspiring horror writers, is that it blends 2 distinct kinds of terror: the physical, claustrophobia and creatures, and the psychological, grief, guilt, and betrayal. By the time the real monsters show up, the group is already broken. Now let's learn how to construct a suffocating nightmare, starting with Lesson 1. The first lesson is that your characters must be trapped twice. The physical trap is obvious. The entrance collapses, sealing the women inside. But the deeper trap is the emotional one. Sarah is trapped by her grief. Juno is trapped by her guilt over the affair and her lie about the cave. This is where we introduce Rule 1: never let them escape the environment. Once that entrance collapses, all hope of an easy rescue is gone. The environment becomes an active participant in the horror, not just a backdrop. The cave is dark, wet, tight, and unpredictable. This isolation forces their emotional baggage to the surface, where it can be dealt with violently. This physical confinement is what allows the psychological pressure to build, turning latent conflicts into lethal confrontation. The descent is always a journey into the self, and in this case, the self is terrifyingly sharp and unstable. And speaking of things getting tight, if you're enjoying this analysis, go ahead and like the video. It tells the algorithm that dark, analytical content is exactly what the world needs more of. Our second lesson is to understand that the monster must be the catalyst, not the conflict. The crawlers, those pale, blind, humanoid predators, don't appear until nearly halfway through the film. Thank the darkness for that, because we're already terrified of the space and of what the women might do to each other. The crawlers aren't the source of the horror, they're the accelerant. They take the emotional damage, paranoia, betrayal, panic, and amplify it until the group shatters. This ties into Rule 2. The monster must exploit the internal wound. The crawlers force Sarah to embrace her most primal, savage self. She emerges from a pool of blood, almost resembling the creatures themselves. The message is clear. In a creature feature, the creature must embody what the main character fears becoming. Sarah's descent into a brutal survivor is the true horror story. The moment she mercy kills Beth, a reveal of Juno's betrayal, is far more chilling than any individual creature attack. The final lesson is a technical one for writers. Weaponize the senses and control the frame. The Descent never rushes its scares. You can't get used to something you can't fully see. Neil Marshall uses 3 primary tools to maximize terror: absolute darkness, tight spaces, and silence. techniques that translate beautifully to the page. This brings us to Rule 3. Use the dark to weaponize sensation. Don't just say, "It was dark." Describe the dripping water, the smell of wet stone, the tiny helmet beam illuminating one horrifying truth: a chalk mark, a frayed rope, a half-seen shape. Some of the film's scariest moments happen when the women turn off their lights, forcing the audience to share their blindness. The escalation follows a razor-sharp climb: claustrophobia, the tight tunnel; verticality, the drop; the unknown, the crawlers appear; the psychological, the final confrontation between Sarah and Juno. By peeling away comfort, sight, space, certainty, the film ensures that when the crawlers finally attack, the audience is already on the verge of a panic attack. And now to recap, here's your Dead Curious cheat sheet for crafting a cave nightmare. 3 essential lessons. The 2 kinds of traps. Corner your characters both physically and emotionally. Creatures as amplifiers. Let your monsters escalate the breakdown, not initiate it. Sensory deprivation. Turn sight, sound, and space into weapons of tension. 3 ironclad rules. Rule 1, never let them escape the environment. The setting should feel alive and inescapable, shrinking their world until panic is the only language left. Rule 2, the monster must exploit the internal wound. Its attack should strike where your characters are already weak, forcing buried conflicts to erupt. Rule 3, use the dark to weaponize sensation. Let every sound, shape, and breath become a threat the characters can feel but rarely see. Follow these, and you'll craft a cave nightmare your audience won't ever crawl out of, no matter how hard they try. We've climbed out of the darkness and analyzed a masterpiece of atmospheric horror. The Descent reminds us that the scariest stories aren't about what's out there, but what happens when we're forced to confront the darkest parts of ourselves somewhere no one can hear us scream. If this analysis made you gasp or think twice about that dusty crawl space in your home, then comment below and tell me which horror film or game makes you feel the most claustrophobic. I'd love to read your deepest fears. And of course, subscribe for more Dead Curious episodes. You wouldn't want to miss our next dive into the horrifying and the bizarre. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, little curiosities. Stay curious, stay scared.